Here's a Philco Model 45 from 1935. This was made in 34 for the 35 model year, probably into 35, but this is supposed to be a more compact tabletop tube radio from, you know, the 30s, and this one's obviously been restored, refinished on the outside. It wasn't done correctly. They did it all one color. It's supposed to be dark right here. All this is supposed to be dark. The top's supposed to be dark, and this is supposed to be about that color here, but the rest of it's supposed to be dark. I got a picture of it in my Philco book. Let's see, this is models 29 and 45 are real similar. I think the difference is that the 29 used a shadow meter and this one does not have a shadow meter. Shadow meter would have been up in here somewhere. As you can see on the model 29, it's got a shadow meter, and the cabinet's a little bit different, but I think the chassis is supposed to be about the same. Here's a model 45 right here. That's what it should look like. It's dark here and light here, here, and here, but the rest of it's pretty much darker. So even this here is supposed to be light wood, but this here is supposed to be dark. So anyway, it don't look that bad though. It's pretty nice looking. So going off all this, grill cloth is incorrect too, but going off all this has been plugged in before, and you know, it should be, I'm sure it's probably been electronically restored, I would imagine. But you know, this is another one of those online purchases the customer made. It was sent in for repair, by the way. So the person who owned this radio bought it offline, and you know, they were told it was restored, and when they got it, it didn't work. So we're gonna see what we can do about that. Alright, so here's the back of the radio, and it did have a cover on it I took off to find out what model number it was. We got that information on here, and it's just a metal cover, which is kind of rare for these old sets. A lot of them didn't even have covers on them, so this one did. And so anyway, this thing's got kind of an interesting tube lineup in it. I mean, it's the IF tube is a 39-44. I don't think I've heard of that tube number before, but it's either 39 or 44 or 39-44 or whatever. That's what I got, 39-44. Those are the two IF tubes, which are here. And then we have a 80 rectifier, a 6A7 detector and oscillator, and a 42 output tube. 75 is the detector and first IF. So anyway, yeah, that's it. It's a 6 tube set. So anyway, so the complaint on this one was it lights up, comes on, but you don't hear nothing, no sound. They said they don't get any sound out of it. Now I've already hooked this up, turned it on, and the only thing I could get out of it was when you connect up the antenna, you get a slight scratchy, like, you know, when you hook up an antenna to a radio that's on, it scratches. So that tells me the audio section is somewhat working on this. So I don't think the problem's going to be in the audio section, I don't believe. Alright, excuse me, and the knob layout on this one is volume, tone, and the band switch, and of course your channel tuning capacitor. So that's the setup on that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this thing out of the cabinet and see what we're working with here. You can always tell when somebody's been monkeying with the radio recently, because it's got modern Phillips head screws in it. the underside of the chassis here. So what I see is a lot of cap replacing but no resistor replacing. This is probably one of those restores that, you know, replacing the caps is supposed to cure everything, and matter of fact they didn't even replace some of these caps correctly. They just tacked one in there, which is tacked in on the positive side, and just ground it to the chassis and just left the old one in the circuit. Here's you know, there's a bunch of these other bakelite blocks down here that are all look like they're all oozing something out. You got all that, looks like it's covered in wax. You got that one there, hiding back there behind there. And of course this one here that was forgotten about. So not too many of them in here, but I don't think that was done correctly. That's, you know, these weren't even touched. They're still done. They're still hooked up in the circuit, and probably still got old caps in these. So that could be a problem. And of course all these resistors here, they don't even look touched. You got dog bones in here. I'm not saying they're bad, but I haven't seen one that looks like it was replaced. They all look original. So I need to eventually go through that and see what's going on with that, but got to troubleshoot the radio and find out why it ain't working first. Alright, well, I think I've kind of getting the drift of what's going on with this thing. We've got something open somewhere, because that tells me the audio section's working. Okay, so, and this tells me that we're getting signal in, but it's not going through.
Can I get a fact check? None of this stuff is factual. Where is Daniel Dale from?
Okay.
Largest. Maybe he could get 5 or 6 Pinocchios out of this.
But this is the second IF here, and it's dead. So I think we probably got an open coil somewhere.
In fact, this will still be going on when we come back from the break. I recently had a dental...
If you could hear that, hopefully the microphone's picking that up. It's coming through the signal tracer.
He is a veneer engineer.
So we're getting audio output, we're getting signal in, it's going through the tuner, and it's going through this IF, but I don't think it's going through here. So I think the signal is probably going to stop somewhere in here, so we're going to have to do some testing over in here. Alright, I've located our problem. This is what happens when you try to tack components back together, and it doesn't work out too well. You might as well just, you know, I don't understand the person that did this. You know, why would you not replace a 10-cent resistor? This resistor right here was untacked.
And what are we going to do? I mean, all that's left is our land and our bodies. Would you take our land and our bodies and give us food? And now notice something. Joseph didn't go to them.
That's all it was. Hey, folks, but it took a long time to track it back down to that.
They came to him.
So anyway, we're going to replace that, and we probably need to replace a bunch of other stuff in here. Alright, it's playing. So, got that problem fixed. That resistor was just, you know, it broke loose from its lead, and so now it's fixed and playing. So now at least we have somewhere to start on the rest of it. Got a bunch of resistors and some bakelite blocks in there we need to rebuild, because they were obviously weren't touched, and so those need to be addressed. Alright, so I went through and checked the resistors, and really they're not too bad. I found a couple that were out. I replaced this one, And of course that 390, and then I replaced this one up here. Was reading about 33K as a 25, so I put another 25 back in there just to bring it back down. That's in the IS section, so I went ahead and did that. So, but all these other ones, they check out pretty good. They're actually not bad, so that may be the reason why a lot of them didn't get replaced. I don't know how many years ago this was done, so you know, things change, you know. For so many years, you need to go and check, make sure these things are still in tolerance, because they will go up in value. So other than that, I think the next thing we need to do are get some of these bakelite blocks taken care of. Alright, so I found another hidden resistor right back in here. I don't know if you could see that or not. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Kind of hard to get the light down in here, but you can kind of see it right there. It's a 32K resistor, and I took a reading on it, and it was about I want to say like 90 something. So I need to take that out of the circuit, and I need to recheck that and make sure that's not actually what it's reading. If it's out of spec, that's not going to be an easy one to replace, because it goes from basically from this terminal down to the tube, which is covered up by this whole little board type of deal they got in here. And but if it does need to be replaced, I think the closest thing I'm going to have is a 33, so that should work fine. Alright, I had to put the camera down there so I could get the meter in the frame there. But this is what this resistor is reading. It's supposed to be a 32 ohm K ohm resistor. It's reading almost 90. So yeah, that one's got to go. Alright. Well, that looks a whole lot better than it did before, so should be good to go. It's supposed to be 32, and it's 32. Alright, so I got this bakelite block rebuilt, which was the across the line capacitor, and I used safety caps in there, so that's all taken care of. And the tar was melted out already pretty bad in that thing. It had gotten hot, so it's a good thing we changed that out. Alright, so we've got this one here, which I believe is a 0.05 microfarad cap. I believe it's a single. From what I can see, it looks like a single, so that shouldn't be too big of a deal. And then this was the 0.05, and we need to correct this situation here and go ahead and take this out and put this inside here and get the old one out of there.
It's mostly cloudy, 80 degrees at O'Hare, 77 at the lakefront. Winds are out of the south at 15, gusting to 36, relative humidity 69%. WBBM news time 8:16, and it's time for sports.
WBBM out of Chicago, coming in loud and clear down here in southern part of the U.S. Anyway, we got that bakelite block rebuilt, and here's one of the blobs out of it. It's a 0.05 microfarad cap, so that one's history. So we'll chunk that, and we got it all redone. All the caps are finished, and the resistors are looking good. So I think we need to go in now to check in tubes. Alright, so we're going to check this 44. This, what is that, the first IF tube? And it's almost dead. But the radio plays good, so that just goes to show you that the radio still play good even on a almost dead tube. Well, here's our second IF tube, and it ain't a whole lot better. It's reading, what, about 3 30 or so out of 1,000, so yeah, that's pretty dead too. Alright, this is 6A7, which is our detector and oscillator tube. It's working just fine, coming in at about 730. Alright, so this is our number 75, which is our second detector, and it's just fine. It's coming in at about, what, like 750. Alright, so here's our number 42 audio output tube, and it passes, but it took a long time to get up in the green, but it's there. So this sounds fine. You know, it's probably just fine, but it's, you know, just a little on the weak side. Alright, and here's our 80 rectifier. It's really strong on plate 1. Plate 2 or diode 2. It's still quite strong. No problems here. Alright, so here's the other 3944, and it's basically the same deal. It's an old signal core tube, probably a match set, and that one's just about full scale too. It's like 80, almost 90. So yeah, good tube there. A lot stronger than what was in there. And and here's our other tube. Hopefully this thing focused. This is our other IF tube, the old one on this tester. So yeah, definitely the new old stock Army tubes are definitely working a lot better. I think these old Army tubes are just World War II surplus. Still floating around. Alright, so one last thing that I'm going to do before I button this up is to put this capacitor in here. There's a hole in here, and well, this is kind of a collectible radio, and I'm sure Keith, the guy that owns this radio, probably would rather not have that hole there. So out of my own personal junk radio, I think it's like a Philco 84B or something like that, there's this old cap, and I'm going to stick it in here for him because I'm sure he'd rather have this in here than a hole. And that old junk chassis ain't worth a crap anyway, so I'm going to donate this cap for appearance's sake, and I'm going to put these 2 screws in here and flip it over, make sure there's nothing contacting anything and it's fully disconnected and all that sort of jazz. And I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the case because best I've checked, this thing does not need an alignment. It's pretty well good to go. It picks up great on shortwave and the AM broadcast band, so don't think there's alignment needed here. It's pretty well operating good. Alright, back in the cabinet, and we're starting out on 750 out of Atlanta.
Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB. Divorce can be complicated.
The opposite. Visit hsbc.ca/first for details.
Great news, man. Enjoy the go. What's Charmy? Western?
They were fine gentlemen. Yeah. Well, Andy.
So picks up plenty of stations.
Some ticket at the front gate. A nosebleed seat obscured by a pole, but he was in there. No.
WSM. Haven't heard of that one before.
Face of the last few years. For you, my power. I'm just making plenty of work.
Focus.
Geology.
1-0 delivery.
You need to take out. If the psychologist is not giving him business advice.
And effect.
you think that Jonathan Carl ever said, "Why did you lie?"
Oh, I'm sure. You will also notice at the beginning of the third week, your Bible will automatically...
Son album, c'est donc à lui qu'on a offert le micro pour terminer l'émission. Il va nous présenter les 5.
Silly to have a position player pitch in this game when you've got all those arms in the...
That's him, and that's hit forward.
You don't mind. You should go.
About Shannon. Good football player. He's only...
Class A building spot.
Well, Mary, get up, hope somebody tips it. Try to get a guy behind the pile. Try to...
From the Cardinals magazine.
Right now, VPN hides your IP address, lets you control where you want the site to think. You're looking for 9 FM.
Kubota.com. Everyday fellow Ohioans are working on version.
I would tell you to go to his website. You can just look it up. Wendell Champion.
Alright, let's go over to shortwave. Alright, start out at the bottom end of the band here. Picking up a bunch of 80 meters. Sideband stuff from the ham bands.
Well, because you are the source of all healing. We ask you to bless that medical protocol, or just that they don't like they said. So, you know. Oh yeah, and there's plenty of.
Well, there's 5. It's a little bit off. WWB on 5. A little bit off, but it ain't too bad.
I'm gone, but they don't help.
Organizations and the main leaders of the territory remembered the commander.
Sideband from 40 meters. Copyright stuff, so I gotta keep it moving. Not much on the top end of the band. It's at night, so not a lot's gonna pick up here, so Anyway, working pretty good. So here's the 1935 Philco Butterfly, I guess you want to call it, nicknamed Butterfly, model 45. From, like I said, 1935, playing again. And this is the last of the radios that were sent in, so I've got a few more of my personal stuff that I need to work on, so I'll probably put up some videos on that pretty soon. So thank y'all for watching.